Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm back with a new layout for Hip Kit Club, and this is my first page using the 2019 September kits, and they are so beautiful. And right away, I'm already starting with a big blunder. Was going to cut some circles from this gorgeous Dear Lizzy paper, and look what my cameo did. Yeah, so I immediately stopped it when I noticed that it was totally messing this up because I did not want it to ruin this entire paper, because look at it, it's so pretty. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna ignore my cameo for this layout and just, yeah, I'll deal with that later. And I'm just gonna go with the rest of this paper here. So I thought I would use punches, and this is a giant square punch. You can see there it's about the size of my hand. And so I'm going to use, I think I have 5 different sized punches that I'm going to basically just punch squares out of the rest of this paper here. And I've had these punches for years. I bought them all at Michael's over the course of a while. I think I would go in there whenever I passed by and I would buy one thing using the 40% off coupon. And so I collected all the squares that I could. And so, yeah, I think that they make a fun design shape on a layout. And so that's what I'm going to start with here, is just punching out a bunch of these squares and then try to use them to create a fun background design. Yeah, I was originally going to go with the circles, but you saw how that turned out. So we went with squares. So I love how this looks. I love how the diagonal stripes of color on the paper kind of look different when you punch them into squares. And there's my cute picture. It's a really close-up picture of my daughter Paige, and I love the contrast of lights and darks in it, and I thought it would be a fun photo to scrap today. So I'm not going to use white as my background. I'm going to use this really pretty light blue cardstock that is in the cardstock kit. And I think I'm just going to do kind of like what you saw there with the squares, kind of a vertical design of overlapping squares. And I'm going to put my photo somewhere in the midst of all those squares, and I'm going to do some mixed media on the background. So this is just white gesso I'm scraping and smudging down. You can kind of see how it looks there now that it's dry. It's going to protect my paper from all the water. Here's a quick shot of the 3 colors that we get this month. I was just testing them out in my little tester book here. Look at the shimmer in that gold. So pretty. We get a denim blue color and then a really pretty, almost, I would call it a blush pink. It's called Cockle Bells, I think. It's got a funny name. Cockle Bells Coral. But yeah, it's very, very pretty. But I wanted to focus on the bright pinks and yellows, and so I'm going to pull in some past Lindy's powders from other kits, as well as the Cockle Bells color, the coral color. And I'm going to kind of mix these all together. And I'm just kind of sprinkling some of the powder on some extra plastic packaging here, adding a little bit of water, and then mixing the powder up. And you can kind of see the different colors here. I know I say this a lot, but over the past several months, we've accumulated lots of the different colors of the Lindy's Magical Powders. And so you can use those from month to month, from kit to kit, because chances are the colors are going to still work with, you know, future kits. And I love to mix and match. And so that's what I'm doing here. So pretty. So I'm just using the packaging technique here. In previous layouts, I've just sprinkled the powder right onto the layout and then spritzed it with water. But I thought I would do it differently this time and kind of mix it up ahead of time on the other plastic packaging, and then kind of use it as watercolor sparingly and just kind of dab some onto the plastic and then turn it over and smush it down. All right, so what I'm going to do is create a big watercolor splotch here, basically a big vertical design, kind of the same area that all the squares are going to go. And I'm going to wind up covering a lot of it up, so I want you to be aware of that ahead of time. I always get a lot of comments on people basically saying, why did you cover that up? It was so pretty. Why? And sometimes that's just the way it goes. And I'm creating all of this watercolor background. It looks like a lot, and when I'm done with this, it is a lot, but I only want a little bit of it to show. I want it to show in between all of the squares, and I want it to show around the edges of the squares on the outside edges. So yeah, a lot of it is going to get covered up, and that's okay, because I can always make another one if I want the background to show more. And yeah, I just want to mix and match the colors. I'm going to do some splatters. I'm not really concerned if this is perfect here because, like I said, it's basically just the background subtle watercolor effects. Now this stuff works really cool with the heat gun. I don't show the heat gun a lot because it does take a lot of time, but look how cool the effects are when you use a heat gun versus when you let it just dry naturally. You get a lot more of the actual trails of where the colored water is. It's just very, very different. And I think this background looks really cool. It's very shimmery, and I love all the pinks mixed in with the yellows and the different shades of those colors. All right, so now I'm going to come back in with the squares and sort of build on top of this, and you're going to still be able to see it peeking through where the squares don't touch and then around the edges of everything. And again, that's the look that I was going for. I made this background knowing that it was going to be covered up mostly. And sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. It just depends. I just wanted something that was kind of messy behind everything. And this just gives the hint of some fun watercolor behind everything. So I'm going to start to just create the design here with the squares. I'm going to kind of make sure that the colors are kind of, you know, varied all over the place, and then also the diagonal stripes on each square are kind of turned in different directions. I don't want them all going in the same direction. I want it to look kind of random. Now I'm going to start to glue down most of these flat onto the background. Some of them, the ones that are overlapping, I'm going to pull those off because later I'm going to raise those up with some adhesive foam to create some dimension. So I'm gluing all these down. I'm going to let this dry, took a break, and then I decided to do some stitching. And I put some metallic gold thread on my sewing machine, and I did the tiniest zigzag over each square on each of the lines separating the colors. And then I also did the same thing with the squares that I did not attach to the background. And I love that detail, and I love the addition of the gold. One of the colors that we get this month in the powders is a gorgeous shimmery gold, and I showed you that earlier, and so I'm going to use that at the end also. All right, so the only layer I'm going to put behind my photo, what's a photo? My photo is some white tissue paper and some adhesive foam, and that's what this green stuff is. It's just a sheet of craft foam. It's really thin, but it's the perfect height for creating dimension on a layout like this. And I just want to add a little bit of depth to some things. So I tend to do that with my picture a lot, and then with all of the squares that I did not glue directly down. This is another one of my favorite papers this month. This is a gorgeous Dear Lizzy floral. I cannot remember the name of the paper, but it's from the She's Magic collection. I am in love with every sheet of this collection. And I just fussy cut out a few of the flower clusters. The striped paper that I punched into squares, that's also from Dear Lizzy. So these colors match to a T perfectly. And then I pulled a couple of leaf sprigs from the exclusive, oh wait, no, that's not exclusive. The die cuts, the florals, those are from Pretty Little Studio. I pulled out a couple of leaf sprigs from there, as well as that flare button. That's also from Pretty Little Studio. It's the perfect orange. It matches. I think it says love this. And then I added a little die cut that says adore in a light green color behind the top of the photo. That is from the Paige Evans Truly Grateful journaling tags set, I believe. So I'm going to come in with some thread. I pulled out several colors. I'm only going to wind up using the hot pink though. I'm going to ball up a little bit of that and place it on two places underneath this big floral cluster here. And again, I love the look of thread. I love the pop of color that it gives, the texture that it creates, and it just adds a little bit more of the messy factor to the background. And by now you can kind of tell that yes, the background is covered up, but you can still see it subtly around everything. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want it to overtake the layout. I didn't want it to overshadow all those squares. I wanted it to be something subtle in the background. And it's kind of hard to just do a little bit it's just, you know, sometimes for me, I tend to do a lot on the background, and then, you know, a lot of times it does get covered up and you can only see a little bit of it, but that's just the nature of making a mixed media background, at least for me, and I'm okay with it, you know. Sometimes I don't want to cover it up, but that's just the way it goes. Anyway, all I'm doing here is gluing everything down. I'm using the Scotch Tacky Glue in my fine liner bottle, and I love that glue. This is some of the packaging. We also got some of that last month. It's this beautiful plaid, perfect colors, matches, and I'm just going to use a little bit of it to create a little bit of something extra behind the photo. I didn't do this before I glued it down, so I thought that I would just kind of cut it and make it look like I did it before I glued it down. So it's just a little subtle pattern behind the photo there. Yeah, the packaging that we've been getting in the past couple months has been awesome. Between the Pretty Little Studio packaging and the Vicky Bouton packaging, and even some of the exclusives. I think there's an exclusive stamp set this month, and the packaging is this gorgeous striped, almost like cardstock, and it matches these colors perfectly. So always pay attention to your packaging, because you can totally use that as something on your layout. Now check out these stickers from Dear Lizzie, She's Magic. They are all shimmery. They have this almost iridescent sheen to them. They are so pretty. Ugh, I love it. Of course, I'm not turning it to where you can see it. You can okay, there you go. They're shiny and shimmery. They're the prettiest finish. They're very, very different, and you get a little bit of everything. There's some tags, there's hearts, there's flowers, there's labels, everything. So I put 3 points of the light blue around. I didn't have a 4th light blue sticker to put over on the right, so here's my solution. I'm going to use thread. I do that a lot when I don't have an embellishment that's just the right color, or a little sticker or something like that. Thread is always something that's quick and easy that you can tuck in there and add that exact pop of color that you need. And so that's what I'm going to do there with the blue. And then these are the Dear Lizzie stamps. I decided that I wanted to do some embossing, and this is just a random scrap of vellum. I wanted to make some vellum flowers and hearts. So all I'm doing is I pulled off the little solid flower, stamping it with my embossing ink. That's basically a little dabber of embossing ink. It's the same thing as an embossing pad. It's by Stampendous, and I've had it for years. I got that at Michael's long time ago. Still going strong. And I'm just stamping it straight down to the vellum. It's hard to see there. And then this is some of the Michael's brand gold embossing powder. I've had that for a long time. It's still great. And then all you do is sprinkle the powder on, and then dab it off, and then take your heat gun to set it. And it is like magic watching this set and melt. And then you instantly have the cutest little shimmery flowers. I'm also going to do the same thing with this open heart. And then when all these are dry, I'm going to fussy cut them out and basically use them as embellishments. Yeah, embossing is fun, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You can do embossing like this with any of the stamps. And I'm so excited that we got 2 stamp sets this month. So I just wound up using a stamp from both of them. So these are from the Dear Lizzie. Kind of see how cool that looks. Everything's embossed and dry, and then I'm just going to cut them out. And they don't look perfect because, you know, they're stamped and they're embossed, so they're not a perfectly crisp shape, but it's okay. They look kind of messy, which is fine with me. You know me. I love me something messy. So I'm going to take the flowers and just kind of tuck them in. And again, this is going to give a nice pop of gold here and there. And these vellum hearts, I may have to do this again. They turned out so cool. And they're subtle, but yet they still, you're still able to see them, and you can kind of see through them because it's vellum. Yeah, if you never use vellum, you really should. So many options for vellum. And yeah. Awesome. All right, so here's the exclusive stamp set. Oh, there's the packaging I was talking about. See the stripes there? Oh, I already moved it, but awesome. Use that on a layout. I'm going to use this little piece. This stamp looks like stitching, so I thought I would pull out my gold ink pad and just add some subtle stitch marks around some of the squares, just for some added detail, and again, some more hints of gold. And I just love that. I love adding these little details. And yeah, I got my gold ink pad there at Michael's. Everything I've accumulated over the years, it's been from Michael's. And it's been working great. So I'm going to go with a small title because if you look at the layout, I wasn't even thinking, where's my title going to go? So I'm going to have to go with something small. I wasn't quite sure yet, so I pulled out this little beautiful, colorful phrase sticker sheet from Dear Lizzy, and it matches because it's all the same collection here. So I'm just going to kind of do some tone-on-tone stickers onto some of the squares where there's room and just kind of add some detail that way. And then, we get 2 sets of thickers. They're pretty big. And if you look at this layout, there's just really nowhere to put a big title. And that's okay. You don't always need a big title. I didn't even create this design this far by thinking of the title, honestly. I got to the end and thought, oh yeah, a title, where's it going to go? Sometimes I start with a title. In this case, I didn't even think about it until right now. These are from Pink Fresh Studio. There's some enamel dots on here, and they're the perfect light blue. So I'm going to use almost all of those around the layout to add some pops of that. And I also use the Truly Grateful puffy stickers. There's a bunch of little round dots on there as well that match the Dear Lizzy papers perfectly. Scattered some of those around. So I've got enamel dots and puffy dots. I'm going to use a little light blue label from that Pink Fresh Studio sticker sheet. And then my title is just very simple. It's going to be My Heart. And I just kind of went with what was on that little enamel puffy sticker sheet and kind of overlapped the title right on top of the photo there. And then I pulled another one of the Dear Lizzy iridescent shimmery stickers in a green color. Felt like I needed a pop of green right there underneath the word heart. And then I couldn't resist adding more hearts. Again, these are all the iridescent ones from that sticker sheet. I added lots of pink ones and I think coral around. And then almost done. I'm going to add my journaling right over here to the right. As always, or mostly always, I like to use my T-square ruler to get the lines straight, and then my black Sharpie. And then the final thing is the gold splatters. This is the gold powder that we get this month. It is called Glittering Gold, and it is just that. So I'm going to activate it with some water, get my big brush, and then just very lightly splatter it around the page for some extra gold splatters. And I did add the date, but that's the final layout. I love how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have not gotten your kits yet, they should be arriving soon, and you will not be disappointed. They are so colorful and so pretty. I hadn't even seen any of this Dear Lizzy She's Magic until I opened up my Hip Kit box yesterday, and I was oohing and awing over all of them. I know there is an unboxing video over here on the Hip Kit website, so check that out. I'm sure it's going to have all of the papers, the embellishments, everything. But I hope you're enjoying all these detailed shots. Let me know if you have any questions about anything, the kits, the techniques, anything at all, and I'll be more than happy to answer. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again soon with another video. Have a great week.